Engineers say our levee systems are much improved over the faulty structures that were supposed to protect us from Hurricane Katrina.
A 1.8-mile long, 26-foot-high storm surge barrier at Lake Borgne is part of the hurricane and storm damage risk reduction system put in place after the storm.
And all of those upgrades come with a big price tag.
WDSU reporter Gina Swanson with how much all this protection costs.
It was a tall task for the Army Corps of Engineers to design a system to protect a major American city from flooding, especially one that experts compare to a fishbowl because it sits below sea level. When Katrina struck, it appears Mother Nature outsmarted the Corps of Engineers, and since that time, the federal government has spent billions of dollars to shore up the system to keep people safe. It was a catastrophic failure. A man-made disaster, a total collapse of the city's defenses when it came to storm protection. Hurricane Katrina, the ultimate stress test for a flood protection system designed by the Army Corps of Engineers. And after a bout with the levees and flood walls, Katrina won. 10 years ago, it appeared the city was down for the count.
They have made vast improvements, but not to the point where I think that we're completely out of the water.
The challenge now is how to keep water out of the city. Brittany Bowden's family lost everything in their Gentilly home. The family has moved to a new neighborhood, but old fears linger.
And when Katrina came, it was like it happened all in a matter of a couple of days. It was like, you know, oh, we have a storm, and then all of a sudden, we have to leave, and then there's nothing to come back to.
And it was the Corps that had to go back to the drawing board.
A lot was learned after the flood we had 10 years ago. It's more than just raising the levees we have to do here. We have to block the surge that's going to come from Lake Borgne from entering our populated areas.
H.J. Bosworth is a civil engineer and works with the nonprofit Levees.org, a group that started shortly after the storm to educate about the flooding and advocate for better protection.
I believe we now have the system we should have had 10 years ago, which could largely handle what Katrina and what that tidal surge threw at us.
The cost of protecting the area from a once-in-a-century storm reaches into the 10 figures.
We have obligated $12.8 billion to date of the $14.5 billion program. Substantially, the system that provides risk reduction for the greater New Orleans area, that 100-year level of risk reduction, is substantially complete.
While in the hardest hit areas, residents complain about the pace of rebuilding.
Girl, it's depressing down here. It really is. We don't have stores near us. We got to walk 2 to 3 miles to get to a decent store. Grass forever. Streets, you're tearing up your cars.
For Mona Francois, it's hard to imagine that billions have already been spent to keep her lower 9th Ward neighborhood safe.
Well, what happened to the money? That's what the people want to know, all that money.
More than $12 billion divvied out in upwards of 400 construction contracts for flood protection projects across a 4-parish area.
They did not fool around and try to save money in the past 10 years to get the job done.
That includes repairs at 33 pump stations for $130 million, another $340 million to stormproof those. $4 billion spent in the Lake Pontchartrain area, $3.7 on the West Bank, and $1 billion on the Intracoastal Waterway, and that's just to name a few.
We got $2 billion in levees being built in Plaquemines.
Staggering figures spent by the government to prevent another storm from crippling the area as it did a decade ago.
What a storm does is it identifies your weak points. You know, we had our weak points fail, we reinforced all the weak spots in the system. What would happen then is that the other weak spots in the system would be identified. Other things that did not fail and that we didn't study or we didn't learn from back then would have little failures here and there. I don't think we would have anything near what we had 10 years ago. You know, we're much, much, much safer.
The Corps says there are 350 miles of levees and flood walls in the risk reduction system. Flood protection upgrades have put some 60,000 people to work. Still, even with the billions spent, some question if it was enough to have levees strong enough to stand up to another storm like Katrina.
I think they are. I think if a carbon copy of Katrina came next week, we wouldn't see the catastrophic flooding we had. We'd have flooding, Certainly the temporary pump stations at the end of the canals have got some issues with their strength and durability. And you'll have some street flooding, but certainly you won't have houses washed off their foundations as you saw in Lakeview and Gentilly, in Chalmette, and in the Ninth Ward.
With billions already invested, there is still work to be done and more money to be spent in the name of risk reduction.
The big things that remain outside of that 100-year system are improvements down in Plaquemines Parish, and we're raising levies there. We're incorporating some of the non-federal levies that were parish levies into the federal system.
While many in Washington were willing to write off New Orleans after the storm, folks with levees.org say the government eventually spent the money in part to protect the money that flows through the region.
It took the business community and Washington, D.C. working together to realize, hey, we better put this port back together because it's very important to us.
When it comes to storm protection, there are always more safeguards that could help. In fact, if there was a wish list for risk reduction,
500-year protection would certainly is certainly one of our hopes and goals. 1,000-year protection, of course.
From the lower Ninth Ward to Lakeview, Plaquemines, and St. Bernard, the Corps says all areas stand to benefit from a newly armored protection system, upgrades that were long overdue. But billions spent can't buy peace of mind for those who lost everything in the storm. Katrina survivors, understandably skeptical when the Corps says the flood protection is better and stronger than it was a decade ago.
They say, and if I'm down here, we do have another flood. All I have to do is wait and see if I'm here.
You just never know. We're blocks from the lake. I mean, you know, anything can happen. If it happened once, it can happen again. I mean, as much as they've done improvements, you never know. You never know.
For all of the money spent fortifying the flood protection system for a 100-year storm, residents here just hope it never has to be put to the test. We're at the Industrial Canal. I'm Gina Swanson. Margaret and Scott, back to you.
Another big public money project is in Bayou Bienvenue in far eastern New Orleans.
$10 million has been spent on the coastal protection and restoration effort there.
With 80% of the New Orleans area underwater and more than 1 million homes along the Gulf Coast ruined, Hurricane Katrina had a huge impact on homeowners.
There was incompetence, you know, in design and engineering and execution by the Army Corps.
The struggle to return. And if that decade-long battle was worth the pain.